Weekend preview, Halifax Sports Talk, Andrew and Daeden with you. The Halifax Mooseheads play 2 games this coming weekend. Well, starting off on Thursday night, the Baie-Comeau Drakkar, and then following that, they'll take on the Moncton Wildcats. Quick preview video for you guys, and we always appreciate your attention and being here with us. Daeden, how are you?
Not too bad, man. How's it going with you?
Good. I'm excited. I love the fact that we're doing the weekend recaps and then the weekend previews. It's exciting. The routine is great, and talking about the past is one thing, but hyping up a game, it kind of gets you more pumped up. You know, we got a game tonight on Thursday, and then of course a game on the weekend. Kind of a tale of two different tapes here. I mean, looking at this matchup, the first game, Halifax versus Baie-Comeau, they're playing a team that, number one, hasn't really been able to find their offense quite yet, but also hasn't found a win quite yet. And then their next game is going to be against the defending QMJHL championship. So it's going to be a little bit of a different battle in both games, but obviously this early in the season, you definitely can't underestimate your opponent in either matchup.
Yeah, I guess first off, I do have to say this. I'm happy that we get to see two different teams this weekend. I know they're not two home games. It's a home and home with two separate teams, but we're at least getting the chance to see the Mooseheads play two different teams. You get Baie-Comeau, they're actually the team that I used to play as on NHL 14. I would go play as them because we share the last name. What a crazy thing, I know. But yeah, Baie-Comeau, without a win, it's going to be tough for them to get things going unless for some miracle they find some offense. But the second game, the game against Moncton, is the game I'm kind of more intrigued for, actually.
Yeah, I think I am as well. But as I mentioned, you can't underestimate your opponent. So looking at this one here, winless, of course, as you mentioned, but 7 goals through 4 games so far. This Mooseheads team, we've talked about it ad nauseum over just the couple of shows that we've done this year together, but they're young. Last year they were young. They're still young again this year, of course. It can be something that happens across all levels of hockey and all levels of sports where you see an opponent coming up that is a little bit more of a challenge, and then you see opponent early on, like tonight against the Drakkar, and you might underestimate them. So when you see a team 7 goals, 4 games coming to town, well, hey, they might not be bringing that much. But one key tonight, and one word I would use to describe this matchup here, is desperation. Because I know it's only early, and we don't want to be those overreacting people, even though it's kind of what we're here to do. Is they need to find their offense. They need to find it. And if the Mooseheads get off to a good start, Baie-Comeau is going to be chasing the game. It's not really been a position that they've been good at so far. So I think a key for this Mooseheads team is not really being fallen to the fact that, hey, this team we're playing tonight hasn't looked very good so far.
Yeah, definitely. But you know what we talked about last episode? Teams showing up to the Mooseheads home ice, showing up to the Metro Center, if you want to still call it that, Andrew. I know we've talked about that, but they show up with a lot of anticipation, a lot of adrenaline because of the atmosphere and all of the professionalism that's going on there at the Metro Center. You got the big lights, the LED lights around the stanchions, all the fans, nearly 10,000 some nights. So Baie-Comeau coming from a smaller rink, probably around 2,500 to 3,000 fans maximum over there in Baie-Comeau. I I think this might be a factor that could add into it. And
Oh, for sure. For sure. I'm with you on that.
one guy that I think could actually play a big factor is Lucas Beckman. I want to talk about him for a second because he's been backing up Jack Ivankovic at Hockey Canada events, the U17s, the U18s, the past couple of years. We all know Jack Ivankovic played for Team Canada at the World Juniors, but Lucas Beckman didn't really get the respect I think he deserves. He's playing for Baie-Comeau. Maybe hasn't had the luck that he would like to start off the season, but he's still a tremendous goaltender, and I think he could definitely steal a game coming in here on Thursday night.
And that's what a team needs in the position that they're in right now. And if they get that, it can get some momentum going for them moving forward and moving into their weekend. One positive for them, as you just talked about the goaltending position as well, defensively as well. 14 goals allowed through 4 games. And I understand that you look at that and you might say, well, that's not much to brag about that much. Well, I would say in the queue, sometimes it's okay. It's not bad. Let's be honest. Over the past few seasons, this league has gotten more high scoring. It really has. Like it's not been an average of like 5 or 6 goals per game. We a 4-3 scoreline is common. 5-3 doesn't shock anybody. We've seen that happen a little bit here. So we'll see if they can clean things up defensively. And like you mentioned, looking for a good goaltending effort. Last thing I'll say about Baie-Comeau, 2 for 19 on the power play. And one thing about young teams like the Mooseheads, they can send teams on the power play. They can get caught, making those poor mistakes and taking those bad penalties and maybe even in the O zone that they shouldn't be taking. If Baie-Comeau wants to beat or have a chance against the Moose, they have to take advantage of those opportunities on the PP for sure.
Definitely. And I think like lately I've been seeing lots of stick infractions. Like throughout the years in the QMJHL, like when fighting was still a thing, there would be lots of fighting penalties and there'd be some penalties for some big hits. But now it's a lot of stick infractions. And it's because guys are faster, obviously, and you have to catch up. And if you get a guy that can't catch up, he's using his stick, he's not going to be slashing them. And I think that honestly, there's been probably I'll have to look into this. See, you can fact check me. I'll be back later tonight with a game recap, and I'll see. But I'm gonna just take a slight guess and say that the average in penalties over the past few seasons has actually gone up due to like stick infractions and stuff. I don't know. I just something I've seen and kind of noticed.
Oh man, I'm the biggest advocate for this. I'm with you every single day that ends in Y as far as that's concerned. Like I look, my statement on this, and you and I will talk about this throughout the season, and maybe we can get some guests on to get their takes as well with this. I remember the days, and I think we've already spoken about this a little bit on the show, but I remember the days when I was a kid going to games and there were just absolute stage fights and brawls. But what I want to say for my quick take on this is that with fighting being removed from the game, it should be just specifically the stage fighting that gets removed from the game. Like fighting is not the same as stage fighting. Protecting a teammate is not the same as a meaningless fight between two fourth liners. That's a difference. And so I think the game actually could be more dangerous without fighting sometimes because there's no repercussions. That's why it hasn't gone away in the NHL. The only thing that's really gone away are the guys that can't really play hockey and they're just there to fight. Not everyone's going to be a Tom Wilson or a Brady Tkachuk, but a lot of players want to be those guys because they can score and they can fight as well. So, yeah, like you said, the stick infractions, the slashes, the hooks, even the trips a lot more. It is weird when you go down the penalty list. You're seeing a lot more different types of penalties than you used to. Before it was just like, yeah, a couple hooks, a couple, maybe like one check from behind that was greasy, followed up by a fighting major. But now you're seeing all kinds of different stuff. We have a quote we want to get to, but I just want to ask you, what do you think the keys are of the game here for the Mooseheads? Like I said, staying sharp. I did mention to you, I was scrolling the gambler in me. I found that they're underdogs tonight at some sports betting websites. I'm like, man, this is a team that has 2 wins playing a winless team, and they're the underdogs. But what are the keys in your eyes for the Mooseheads tonight?
Well, I think the first goal is actually huge tonight for two reasons. First goal, you get it past Lucas Beckman. Like I said, he's a hard goalie to put pucks by, but if you get the first one by him, it forces the team in front of him, who hasn't been very good at scoring lately, to play from behind. So if they're playing from behind and like historically bad this season at putting pucks in the back of the net, those things just don't add up, and it'll be hard for Baie-Comeau to get a W here tonight.
I think that the Mooseheads just want to frustrate this Baie-Comeau team, just frustrate them. You watch some teams play in the NHL, and they're not always fun to watch, right? Doesn't mean they're not a good team. Sometimes some of the most boring teams are great because of the certain way that they're able to clog up the neutral zone, I think against a team struggling to score like the Drakkar are right now, that's what we need to see from the Halifax Mooseheads, is to make life very, very difficult for them. So, yeah, it sounds cliche, but as you mentioned, that first goal is huge. You got to get off to a good start, make your opponent chase the game. I would think it's very clear to me. High scoring game correlates with the Moose tonight. Low scoring game correlates probably with Baie-Comeau. That's what they would like, at least. Daeden, I'm a big quotes guy, and you have one that you found for us here from a big name player, Liam Kilfoyle in the Halifax Mooseheads. What did he have for us?
Well, Kilfoyle was talking to Willie Pavlov on Saltwire. I found this one. He was talking about going to main camp and really playing well, and he's kind of fueled his fire a little bit. And I think that's exactly what players like Kilfoyle need, because you see them kind of go up to the big camps and maybe they get cut, and then they come back to junior and they dwell on it a little bit and they say, well, damn, maybe I should have worked on this, maybe I should have done that, and it kind of tinkers with their game in the CHL, and they don't kind of produce as much as they should be. But I think Kilfoyle having this fuel kind of lit in his fire, it'll make him a little more motivated, and he'll come back. And I think you might see a couple bingos out of Liam Kilfoyle here this weekend. I like to call them bingos.
I love it. I love it. I think a quote like this tells us all we need to know about the character of a player like him. And like you said, what they can learn from a training camp, even just being around the pros, even just living that lifestyle. Let's be honest. I mean, hey, sure, it's pretty cool playing for the Halifax Mooseheads. We've talked about what it's like playing in front of that crowd, but you're at an NHL pro camp. You're in front of all these superstars. You're in front of all these guys. You're like, hey, man, I want that to be me. I want to be that guy flying a private jet, flying around first class, living that life of being in the NHL every day. You see what you want. You see what your future hopefully looks like. And so maybe when you're dominating in the queue 1 year and you're like, this is just too easy for me, you get that peak of what it could be like in the future for you. That can keep you motivated. You never want to say anyone's lacking motivation. You go to that pro camp, you're coming back and you're just ready to roll. You're ready to dominate. And I know I probably bring him up and going to bring these guys up a lot, but I never forget when Joe Drouin got cut from the Tampa Bay Lightning. People kind of questioned what his motivation would be like coming back to the Halifax Mooseheads, especially without McKinnon being there. And I'll tell you, it was like an absolute video game for him. Like, I know that, comparing Drouin, comparing Kilfoyle, don't get me confused here, guys. But when what we saw him do when he came back was equally, if not more impressive without his running mate McKinnon, because he was all on his own. There were a couple guys with him, but you need that motivation after being a part of a pro camp. So good to see from Kilfoyle. And the one last thing I had written down about this matchup tonight, which we talked about on the Monday show, was just looking at the
I've,
Halifax
I've,
Mooseheads.
I've got something on that actually. His
Okay.
dad, his dad actually liked the tweet that we
Oh,
reposted on
nice.
Twitter. Yeah, so shout out
Sweet.
Matthew Kilfoyle.
Shout out to him, and appreciate you seeing us there on X. And I think that he's got a bright future. So we want him to come back and dominate in the Moose. And then after he dominates this year, he can go off and have a bright future. But Kulebiakin, Sean Carrier, and Quinn Kennedy, we got 4 goals, 3 goals, and 3 goals. With the point leaders. And then, of course, Kulebiakin, Carrier, and Kennedy all tied up with 2 goals apiece. This weekend, the key for me is depth. I want to see a couple of names besides those few guys score goals. Maybe William Bent get involved again. Would love to see him get on the board once more. But any final thoughts for you on the first matchup?
No, I think the first matchup, really, like you said it, the first goal is the biggest thing. Maybe a good performance in net. I'm thinking it's going to be Owen Brisson, but maybe where the Baie-Comeau Drakkar don't have the best record, they might let the young guy Circa step back in between the pipes. But it's all yet to be determined. So I just still think it's that first goal. That's all they need.
So it's a bit tougher for us talking about this next game because obviously they haven't played their game against Baie-Comeau at the time of recording. But the Halifax Mooseheads will go from hosting a team that's just struggling a little bit here to start the season off to going on the highway, taking a road trip to Moncton, New Brunswick, and taking on the defending champions, the Moncton Wildcats here. Obviously, a lot depends on how we approach this game, depending on what goes on against Baie-Comeau. But when it comes down to it, 2 weekends into the season, Daeden, they're 1-1 and 1-1. They haven't had consecutive victories here. I'd love to see consistency. I'd love to see back-to-back quality outings from this Mooseheads team. Win or not, I want to see back-to-back good efforts out of them here.
Yeah, like a coach would say in the locker room, 60 minutes. I want to see a good 60 minutes of hockey. Win or lose, the effort is what matters, right? I think Brad McKenzie would like to see 4 points when he comes back home this weekend. But I do think for consistency with this young Mooseheads team, just 60 minutes or 120 minutes of solid hockey, or if there's overtime, which fans will always like and probably never say no to, who knows? Just play all of it. The Mooseheads need to really just forget about what happens the day before. Say they lose, like the game in Charlottetown. They were really able to drop that one and just pick up the next day with a win. It was really two different teams, like we've touched on before. But yeah, it's just kind of having that mind of a goldfish, stepping ahead and looking at that next game. And if they play Moncton from top to bottom, I think they'll be fine.
And looking at this Moncton start, I mean, what did you see out of them so far? Obviously, Caleb Denoyer not with the team yet with an injury, of course, but what have you seen from this team so far this season?
Well, I've seen the guys over at the Wildcats podcast. Jeremy posted something saying that if Ryan Chudzinski isn't in the top 40 draft prospects now, he will be by mid-January. So I'm hearing that Ryan Chudzinski, an American-born player, one of those guys that have taken advantage of the pipeline now, is coming up to Moncton, and he's lighting it up along with the other 7 Americans that they have on their roster. So it's kind of like or looking like he'll be the guy to go for Moncton. But other than that, it's Rudy Guimont. He's kind of the guy. He's been the guy ever since last year. He's going to have to be a brick wall for them. And I think with Gardner McNougal as well, he's been a solid coach. Moncton has like the pieces to be that contending team again. They'll just need to put the pieces together.
Yeah, a lot of times you see a team win a championship in the Q, have a successful team, make some trades. Then next year, you see an immediate dip. I don't really get the sense that's going to happen this year with the Moncton Wildcats. They want to give Gardner McDougall another great team, and they have it with him. But you know how it is with the Q. Like a lot of times you go all in one year, you go to the Mem Cup, and the next year can be a disappointment. It's kind of cool for them to be able to have back-to-back quality years, and I think they're going to be in good this one here. We saw back-to-back victories against the Newfoundland Regiment, 7-5 and 5-4. One of them was in overtime. So a little bit more of a close game in that one at the Mary Brown Center. And then 4-3 win over Cape Breton, and then 3-2. So this team's been involved in tight games, and it goes to show with the coaching staff, we all know what Gardner McDougall is capable of. But so far, I've been impressed with Moncton being able to close out those tight games. You can be impressed with a team winning a 5-1, 5-2 game, but seeing a couple wins already so far this season, tight victories, defense is going to be very important, and staying out of the box. Like I said, against Baie-Comeau in the first matchup for the Mooseheads, might not really have to worry about that with 10% the other way with the PP percentage, but Moncton doing much better on the power play and scoring a lot more consistently. I'd worry about that, but they're in tough. But I think for the Halifax Mooseheads, play well defensively and manage your emotions. Don't get too high on your highs. Don't get too low on your lows, because so far they've played 4 games, and I don't want to be drastic, but we have seen kind of 2 different teams in those 4 games.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing here is just staying consistent for the Mooseheads. They're still a young team. Like we said, even if they do go down by a couple of goals in that Moncton game, say the Wildcats start off and they do look like that QMJHL championship winning team, the Mooseheads just have to stick to their game plan. And I know it's cliche. It's very 2010s minor hockey coach, stick to your game plan, but it's just what you have to do. You're not going to get better by flipping stuff around. Like if you're out, you know what I mean? it's tough. I'm not a coach. I'm not Gardner McDougall, but
I know what you mean, though, and that's the biggest thing about CHL. Obviously, they have a busier schedule than in the NCAA, but you need to be able to kind of manage things from a game by game basis. Like some of the players that are emotional, every team needs them, but you need some players that are very level headed that don't get too high on the highs, too low on the lows, that can kind of just manage the game. Like if the Halifax Mooseheads win, let's say 5-2, 5-1 against Baie-Comeau, and Baie-Comeau remains winless, the Halifax Mooseheads can't get too high off that. Or if Baie-Comeau gets their first win of the season and it's a tight one, 3-2 victory, we need to see that urgency and that instant bounce back ability of the Halifax Mooseheads in the next game. Whatever it is, we don't want to see anything too emotional. We want to see them be able to bounce back out of it. But Daeden's doing some post-game shows. I'm going to try and join him when I can with those. So if you guys haven't already checked those out, make sure you check them out. You know, usually the night of, a couple hours after, maybe even an hour after, Daeden's posting those. So if you miss the game, if you're a diehard Halifax Mooseheads fan, if you're getting into the team, if you're getting into the league and you want to just get a little quick recap of what he thought of the game and the matchup, make sure you check out the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, be notified when we go live or when we post a video as well. We're on all social media networks as well, TikTok, on X, on Instagram, so you guys can find us there as well. Guys, we hope you enjoy the games this weekend. Should be a great weekend of QMJHL action, and we'll see you both on Monday for our weekend recap. Thanks for watching.